Good afternoon and welcome to Today on Bay TV. I'm Liz Cairns and this is Rachel Hopkins.
We're joined today by two of Wales' foremost journalists, former Evening Post editor Spencer Feeney and business specialist Robert Llewellyn-Jones.
Well, thank you both for coming. But before we get stuck into On This Day, Spencer, I've heard you've been to see a film, Atomic Blonde.
That's right, yes.
Give us your views on it.
Well,
should we watch a bit of a clip?
I think we should,
and then we can talk about it then, because you've seen this one as well, haven't you?
I have, actually. Yes.
Let's watch a clip.
So, is this your first time in Berlin?
Yes.
Well, it's a remarkable time to be here. Wonderful music, superb nightlife, marvelous restaurants. You must try this central cafe for a drink. You'll need it later. You remember Mr. Bremovich, don't you? Of course you do. Well, he's very curious what you're doing here in Berlin.
A deadly stiletto, Spencer?
Yes,
what do you think of it?
That was Charlize Theron in the, effectively, the title role of the Atomic Blonde, the secret MI6 agent who was sent to Berlin. Ginger Rogers used to say that she could dance anything Fred Astaire danced, except that she would do it backwards and in high heels. And Theron must feel the same way after this film. Her hero is more action-packed than any Jason Bourne or any James Bond. And she does it in, as you saw there, an array of stiletto-heeled boots and the sort of figure-hugging outfits that take Undercover out of Undercover Agent. So when she arrives there in that scene, she's arriving as an undercover lawyer. The least likely looking lawyer, I think, that you'll ever see. This film is not so much lights, camera, action as neon, soundtrack and action. You know, it's bathed in this neon light right from the opening credits. It's bathed in this wonderful neon lighting. The action actually rips along to a soundtrack of 80s iconic tracks, including the likes of George Michael, Nina, New Order. So it's got a tremendous soundtrack. And the action is just constant. It comes at you with a whack that induces a wince each time. It's really full-on action film. The director, David Leitch, first-time director, he's also a stuntman. And he has been a stunt double for Brad Pitt in 4 Brad Pitt films. So his background is in stunts, and it really shows in this film. So the action it's thick and fast. It really whacks in, and it all culminates in this amazing long shot where Theron's character is involved in this fight, a bone-cracking, face-smashing, body-wrecking fight, down a staircase, through an apartment, out the front door, into a car chase, into a canal. It's
not for the faint-hearted.
It's an amazing scene. Yeah, it's one of those scenes.
Was it?
No, not at all. It's one of those scenes I think that will a bit like the car chase in Bullet and things like that, or in it'll be one of those scenes that people refer to and look and learn from. Yeah. It's quite incredible. The plot. British, Russian, East German and French secret intelligence are searching for a lost list of British secret agents operating behind the Iron Curtain. And this is Berlin at the end of the Cold War. Chuck into that the search for an MI6 traitor and an East German officer who wants to defect. Once you've mastered all that plot, forget it. Because the plot is just a vehicle for the action in this film. And it's all about action, and it's superbly well done.
So
is it believable, Spencer?
Is it believable? No. I'm sure it's not at all believable. I don't think it matters, because I think in films it's not about accuracy. It's about whether the film can convince you that the world it's creating works.
I think sometimes people watch a film for escapism anyway, don't they? So
I mean, if you analyse this plot deeply, it falls apart. You know, everybody's motivation falls apart. It's not about plot, this film. It's about action. If you like Jason Bourne, if you like Daniel Craig's version of James Bond, you will love this film.
Well, saying about Daniel Craig and his version of Bond, I've heard people talking now about a female Bond and Charlize Theron, because of her work in this film, possibly being up for it. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, this might well be an audition. It's certainly,
Obviously, I've already been asked, but I'm busy here.
I think for the director, David Leitch, it clearly is an audition on his part to be a future Bond director, because the whole film sort of draws you in that direction, you know?
Would you like to see a female Bond?
Oh, I'm going to say yes, definitely.
I wonder,
I would like to.
I wonder if Ian Fleming would like to see a female blonde. I don't know. I often
think it'll be like Marmite.
If it works, it works.
I often thought that, you know, the Bourne film, the reference, they would say, give me eyes on the street. I'm from Langley in America. You were looking at Waterloo Station. Was, you know, that I wondered, well, could that really happen? Is there anything in this film that perhaps strikes you?
Well, because the film is based in Berlin right at the end of the Cold War, the background is the Berlin Wall is coming down. Yes. Perhaps the technology isn't that advanced. This is a film much more about hands-on, face-to-face, eyeball-to-eyeball contact and combat, you know?
I must admit, I was enthralled the whole way through. I really was when I went to see it on Wednesday.
Without giving the ending away, there is a twist at the end that I think will play much better with American audiences than it will with British or European audiences. And I'll leave it at that.
And I will say my friend and I were slightly perplexed when we left. We were just like, what? But that's the type of film I enjoy. Yeah. I like to have thought-provoking films. I prefer to watch a film where later you sitting there thinking, right, okay, what exactly was that? What was going on now?
Well, I got the ending, okay. Yeah. I just thought, as a Brit,
I can understand what you're saying.
Slightly, yes. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that last twist.
Recommend people getting to the cinema and watching this?
Absolutely, yeah. It's stylish. It's incredibly stylish. It is incredibly brutal. James McAvoy as the MI6 chief in Berlin is excellent. Charlize Theron is, as always, outstanding in the lead role. If she is auditioning for a female Bond, then yeah, she'd get my vote.
And for everybody as well, I'd say, isn't it? For everybody, males and females.
As long as you like action movies.
Yeah.
If you don't like action movies, don't bother, because this film is all about action.
Well, I'm not really an action movie person, if I'm honest, but I really enjoyed it.
Now you know that you are.
I have been converted.
Maybe it's because it's done with such style.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, he's a great advocate for whatever the film's substance is. I think they found a true advocate here. And
it's got a tremendous strong cast.
Yeah, and what would you rate it?
Oh, 4 stars. 4 stars, edging towards 5 stars.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really good film.
Good grief. I'd say the same if I'm honest. Though.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad we agree.
Should we have a look at Now on This Day? So this is part of the show where we look back and see what happened on this day. And we are looking at the pirate radio show when it first became illegal, because we've got a clip which we can take a look at and then we can talk about it. Should we have a little look?
Yes.
There's just a 10-kilowatt transmitter pumping the music out, but millions of kids have learned to say, I love Caroline on 199, and they lap it up from 6 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. The disc jockeys have got themselves fan clubs out of the job that the Postmaster General is trying to stop East England at any rate.
The pirate stations had discovered that if you kept to the high seas, the Wireless Telegraphy Act couldn't touch you. Caroline was the first, but others followed. Radio London, Radio Invicta, Radio City. The government gnashed its teeth in frustration. The Postmaster General, Tony Benn, said they were a danger to shipping. In 1967, a new law meant that advertisers who supported the pirates could be imprisoned. The pirate boom was over. But it had established a huge market for non-stop pop radio. And for the likes of Simon D. and Tony Blackburn, the only sentence was wonderful Radio 1.
So that was 1967, and it was made illegal, and they sort of went behind idea that it was quite dangerous because there were these small vessels, lots of electricity going on, and wasn't really the safest. However, it did change the way the radio was seen today. There were some big names.
Well, Radio 1 was founded on the success, wasn't it?
Yeah, Radio 1 was the government's sort of reaction and to
well, I think up until then, the BBC were doing a great job and they were on the radio, but the pirate ships then started really playing pop music and also talking in a way that related to people that were listening and being more interactive.
Before the pirate radio ships came in, of course, teenagers like me in the 60s, we had to listen to Radio Luxembourg to get pop music because BBC just didn't play pop music. I think we had a half-an-hour programme on a Saturday morning to listen to pop music, and that was it. But these radio stations forced the BBC and forced the government to change.
Thank you both. Next up, we'll be taking a look at the papers.
And I'll be back for part 3.
See you then. Welcome back. And now to review the papers, we have former Evening Post editor Spencer Feeney and our own Robert Llewellyn Jones, and also Swansea Council Cabinet Member for Culture, Robert Francis Davis. So, shall we see what's in the papers? First up is the atrocities that happened over the weekend in Charlottesville. The Guardian and the Metro have picked up on it as the front pages. The Guardian says Trump under fire from all sides as woman dies at far-right rally. President fails to blame white supremacists. Civil rights inquiry after car hits protesters. The suspect had been pictured with neo-Nazis. And the Metro, Trump swarmed by neo-Nazi row. We've got a video which I think we'll go straight into because it actually explains how we got to where they were over the weekend.
You will not replace us! You will not replace us! You will not replace us! You will not replace us!
This event has been declared an unlawful assembly.
And I have a message to all the white supremacists and the Nazis who came into Charlottesville today. Our message is plain and simple. Go home. You are not wanted in this great Commonwealth. Shame on you.
Well, they've been through that before, haven't they, Spencer? Wouldn't you say at Montgomery, you know, in the 60s?
This is 2017.
Certainly the civil rights movement in the 60s had its moments, but I think what's happening in the States now has a new dimension to it because the president's response to that was so grotesquely inadequate, where he talked about violence on all sides. I mean, he needs to do what Ronald Reagan, who I think he would regard as maybe a mentor. Reagan came out and spoke quite clearly and said that there's no place for white supremacists in the United States. And I thought Trump's response to this was so inadequate, it was almost criminal.
What's your views on...
I think it's absolutely appalling what's happening, and anybody should come out and condemn racism, you know, the Ku Klux Klan, these Nazis, that there's no place in a modern society for organisations. Trump should come out and condemn it fully, and I think it is a disgrace.
When the leadership is so lacking, then there's clearly simmering racial tension in the States for the last 2 years. But I think what's happened under Trump's presidency has just ramped it up and ramped it up. And when the leadership fails, I'm afraid things fall apart. Yeah. And I do think in the States now, in terms of the Cllr question, there's a great danger of things falling apart.
Like, it has been problems in Charlottesville anyway, obviously before Trump came in. But do you think with his speeches, his open speeches that he even said about the Mexicans building a wall, it's allowed these to become the way that they are?
Well, it just takes you back almost to the Second World War, where people will blame immigrants into, you know, we're a multicultural society today. It's easy for people to blame people who come in looking for work. I suppose when you look at America, they were all immigrants. You know, if you look at the Red Indians that were there.
And used to take pride in the fact that they were a melting pot society.
Yes.
And took everybody in from around the world. I don't think it helped during the election time, the language that was being used by Trump, as you say, building a wall across Mexico. And I don't think he's helped at all in the language he uses, not just there, but even in what's going on now in North Korea. Yeah. You know, the world, it just feels a very unsafe place to be at the moment.
Yeah, I think the political rhetoric in the States now is dangerous. And the governor of Virginia came out yesterday and said that the political rhetoric is breeding bigotry and hatred. And he's a Republican governor, so I think Trump is isolated on this. And of course, the White House has scrambled now to try to recover the position by saying when he spoke about violence on all sides, he of course included white supremacists. That's not enough. He needs to come out and say directly that the white supremacist terrorism will not be tolerated.
Do you think there's an interesting parallel here? You saw the statue of General Robert E. Lee, and they wanted that removed. I think that was part of one of the issues, wasn't it?
I think that's been used as a convenient excuse.
We had a similar incident in Bristol not so long ago when somebody, I forget who it was, had made his fortune out of slavery and donated it to the city. And
it was Colston, wasn't it?
Colston, that's right, yes.
Yeah, no doubt. Bristol, Liverpool are both cities that wealth was built totally on the slave trade. And you can't change that. But you need to confront history and talk about history and learn from history. I don't think you whitewash history. So I don't agree, excuse me, with tearing down statues.
No.
But I do think in this case that was just a convenient excuse for the simmering racism that I fear is going to really cost the United States.
Yeah. You really got to condemn it. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. And luckily in Swansea we obviously multicultural and that, but I think we do pride ourselves in all getting along and understanding each other and different cultures.
Swansea is a city of sanctuary. We welcome people from all around the world. But yes, there will be some tensions. Let's never underestimate that.
But,
what I'm saying is, as with all the universities we do have a lot of multicultural people here, and we do with the guests that we've had, and they've said that they try to get to understand each other and that. I think that's it is important.
But there's some underlying tension still in Swansea that we mustn't ignore, and we must never let racism raise its head wherever we are.
And we shouldn't pretend that since the EU referendum vote there hasn't been an increase in tension and there has been an increase in hate crime towards foreigners.
Yeah, and that, in a way, because we brought it to light, that then brought people together as well, I found, because they were saying that they'd gone into the mosques to speak to people and that, which it was there and it should never have happened.
Well, I think after the EU referendum, it's not so much anti-Muslim, is it? It was more anti-East European sentiments that were coming to the surface.
But the underlying theme of it all is this business of the immigrant, isn't it? I really believe that was one of the reasons, the primary reason for us voting to leave the European Union, people's fear of immigration. Now, I could be wrong, Spencer, and you might
say... I'm sure you're right, because there were posters on the Leave side that very, very clearly focused on the immigrant issue, wasn't there? So, yeah, I'm sure that you're absolutely right on that.
And I'm going to bring in quickly, in the Evening Post on Saturday, when everybody did get together and they had a lovely time, which is, we do have, obviously, in Swansea as well. Ollie Moores, he came to Singleton Park on Saturday. He brought all different age groups. You can see there's women, there are men there as well. There's lots of young children there. We've got a quick clip as well to show you, where it's nice because he's actually thanking Swansea. I got to be honest, isn't that nice to see in Swansea? And the sun stayed for them as well. That was amazing.
That's a rare event at the moment.
I must say, on Friday evening, when I looked at the weather, I thought, it's going to be a disaster tomorrow. But it turned out the weather was good. The sun shone on the evening. There were 8,500 people that were really enjoying themselves. he appealed to the mothers, he appealed to the children, he appealed to the lonely people as well, he said, everybody.
Everybody, exactly. Thank you so much, everyone. And we'll see you when I return. Yeah. I'm actually won't be back until 4.
Welcome back, I'm Rachel Hopkins. Swansea Council Cabinet Member for Culture Robert Francis Davis is with us, with Spencer Feeney and Robert Llewellyn-Jones. Robert, we're going to be talking about all the positive things that are happening in Swansea at the moment, but first of all we're going to take a quick overview at what it's going to be.
Good.
Well, that looks absolutely amazing, doesn't it? Robert, can you give us, a brief explanation of what we just saw?
Well, probably it's the most exciting time I've ever known on Swansea Council since the 80s when we did the Maritime Quarter. We're now looking at having a new arena. That detailed planning will go in for that towards the end of this year. We've got outline planning permission already. That will be a 3,500 to 4,000 seater arena. The operator has already been procured for that, the Ambassador Theatre Group. There will then be a new hotel and a walkway going over Oystermouth Road, which will be covered. Very spectacular walkway into retail, going up, imagine an imaginary road from Next and Oxford Street right away down, rising gradually over the road. Underneath the arena will be 6 stories of car parking, so that the car parking won't be lost. Obviously, with the destination, we need to have people being able to access it easy. And when you're coming out of the station into Swansea, within the next month, you will see them going on site in Mariner Street as well. There will be the 22-storey, it's called Icon 21. It's going to be 22 stories, not 21, 750 student apartments. The Old Way House is going to be redeveloped as well to get more students. That will bring life and vitality into the top end of High Street. These students bring a lot of money with them. They spend in the city centre. People will be working and living in the city centre.
I was going to say what it all means for the existing businesses.
The shops will then be sustainable.
Yeah, a lot of the housing development planned, Robert, seems to involve students. Any danger you think that we might end up with a city centre that is too heavily influenced by student accommodation?
No, we're looking at, we want families back, the young professionals as well working in the city centre. We're having a digital quarter. Work will start this year on the Kingsway, bringing back 2 lanes of traffic and offices to bring people back. working in the city centre. So we want to cover what you would see. It's no good just social housing. We want the entire mix of social, students, families, a sense of place and community within the city centre.
In the civic centre redevelopment, there's plans there for retail and hotel. When would you expect to be able to tell people who's coming there? Have you had any expressions of interest on those sites?
We deliberately haven't gone in that way. We told the university where we are looking at the Hydro Hub, which will be a digital aquarium, and other hotels. The housing will come with that, but as our first priority is to do the arena, the walkway over, the new car park, the retail. We are working on with a lot of people at the moment. Too early to give any names out, but that would be first. The value of the city, the county hall site will rise in value, which will be able for us to do even more. So we are starting in phases. But I don't think there's going to be a part of Swansea that's going to be untouched when you look at University of Wales, Trinity St David as well.
And part of these plans are Construction Wales, the innovative centre, that's going to be starting out and helping people that are going into construction get their experience before they enter the workforce. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, what we want is to make sure that we have the right skills in Swansea so that because there's going to be so much building, what we want to make sure is that the people who win the contracts are Welsh companies and local companies. We've got to have the right skills to be able to take on these contracts so that money stays in Swansea. What we don't want is somebody procuring for this work from a couple of 100 miles away, come in, develop and take all the money away. We want that money to stay and circulate in Swansea. So we want the right apprenticeships, and we're working closely with both universities to make sure that they have the right courses. Like in schools as well, with the digital industry, we need more people doing coding in the schools, because in some areas that's been lacking. So just getting the skill base right in Swansea, getting the mix right, it is really the most exciting time.
And then hoping they all stay in Swansea.
Do you feel you have the underlying economic infrastructure to support the kind of plans that you propose and which Spencer refers to?
I think we do. It's that, all right, revenue-wise on the local authority has never been a worse time for us financially. But probably for borrowing money to be able to do things, there's never been a better time with interest rates being so low.
Yes, of course.
So what we can is invest. We can become the developer in many ways, making sure that the people want to come in. The return was be coming back and stay within Swansea, that we can recirculate. So it is for us to drive forward that economy, and unless we are brave and strong about it now, we can't rely on other people come to do it. We've got to do it ourselves.
You'll be getting money, of course, from the sale of the Civic Centre site, and I understand that you're getting closer to selling the Liberty Stadium as well to the Swans.
Well, what we're looking is leasing the Liberty Stadium. Swansea Football Club, nobody saw the football club. When we built the Liberty Stadium, and it was Swansea Council that built the stadium, nobody else. The Swans were a couple of games away from falling out of the Football League altogether. The Whites, there was no such animal as the Ospreys in those days, were the Rebels with Cardiff in rugby.
Yes, of course.
Who thought that within 10 years the Swans would be in the Premier League? That gives us a worldwide recognition. I think Swansea's better known throughout the world now than Wales itself because of the Premier League.
Better known than Cardiff.
Well, we are the Premier City.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You mentioned that football, as you say, is making us world known, and all these plans are going to take Swansea into a different league altogether. Is that then going to mean that the cost of living in Swansea is going to go up? Because, of course, at the moment, it's relatively cheap to live in Swansea.
It is cheaper to live in Swansea, but what we want is it to be a high-skilled, high-earning economy, so that the skills that people are coming out of our university, we don't want them to have the need to have to move away. We want them to start their business, develop in Swansea, offer good jobs to the people that live in Swansea. We want them to earn more money so that, yes, the cost of living will probably go up. But what we need is good quality jobs. They've got to be created here. And we got two leading universities that are churning out students who've had to move away. That's not right. We need
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Thank you all. When we return, we will be talking the Swans and sport with Craig Lawton, and Liz will be back here on the sofa.
Welcome back. I'm Liz Cairns and this is Craig Lawton and this is Councillor Robert, Francis Davis and, of course, Spencer Feeney. Before we do start speaking the Swans, I'd like us all, as we all want to, pay our respects to Llewellyn Joseph MBE, who sadly died on Friday, aged 90. And he supported and served the club for over 50 years. I know you wanted to say something as well.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure all our hearts go out to Jan, his wife, and the family. Llewellyn worked tirelessly for Swansea City Football Club, probably most of his life. He started a football team in Morriston, genuinely interested in football, and sort of worked on the programme for the Liberty Stadium with the local authority right the way through, and really cared passionately about the football club, and he'd be a great loss to Swansea City Football Club, but to the city in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had not long come back to Swansea, 2002, and had a phone call from Llewellyn to say that we have these plans to build a new stadium for the football club, and can I come and talk to you about them? And his passion for the project, the club, but especially the stadium project, sort of shone through. But also his determination that the Liberty Stadium would be more than just a football ground. He had great foresight there, and he was insistent that the ground, the stadium, would have to be designed in such a way that it would lend itself to other events. And I think that has been proven.
Definitely. Craig, I know on Saturday you went to see the game in Southampton.
I did.
Well, we know obviously what happened, the outcome of it, but the actual game being there, what do you think of it?
Well, it was the first game of the season, so it was always going to be difficult to sort of work out what the footing would be like in the match. But Swansea were missing Gylfi Sigurdsson, who is such a key player in that midfield, and I hope it's not a signal of things to come this season if he isn't back in that midfield and if he does leave, because both Leon Britton and Tom Carroll, two midfielders who are excellent midfielders, but they're both very similar. They both playing lots of sort of balls across the line and not really making forward runs. So there was a little bit of creativity sort of missing at times. But I have to say, the few chances we did see from Tammy Abraham was a header in the first half and a shot in the second half that were both excellent. And unfortunately, not enough of those opportunities to really hold on to. One other positive as well is Oliver McBurney, who's a young striker who has been out on loan to Bristol last season, Scotland under-21 international, I think. When he came on as a substitute, he looked very good. I don't know if the club would have been looking to play him that early on, but every single header pretty much that he went for, he won in the final third, and that's going to be an important thing this season, I think.
So he's definitely a name then that we all should be looking out for.
Yeah, I don't think the club would have been looking to play him that much. And it may well be that when Llorente comes back from injury, he may not get much of a look in. But playing in the under-23 league and playing on loan in Bristol has clearly made a big difference to his style of play. So
what do you all think about, do you think there will be a return of Joe Allen or Wilfred Boney?
Well, I think really what we got to get is the Sigurdsson deal. He's going. It obviously looks if he's going. The sooner it happens, the better it'll be for.
I think that needs to be sorted out now. I think the intransigence of both clubs on this is now put in each manager at a severe disadvantage. Neither manager. I mean, we know the Swansea, the same for Everton. Neither manager can get on and build his settled team. I mean, I don't think it's no doubt about it. It's a great shame Sigurdsson's going. He's made it quite clear that he wants to go. Swansea want £50 million. Everton have offered £40 million. If this was a house, they'd come to a compromise in the middle, and that's what they need to do. They need to get it done, get it sorted, get the money, sign some new players, give them a chance to bed in, and move on.
Yeah, we need that money as soon as possible, because as you say, if you sell him on sort of August 31st, last day of the transfer deadline, what does that mean for any player that comes in? It's very rushed. We've seen so many deadline deals that don't really pay off. I don't want to see a lot of money wasted on a midfielder.
Take 40 million and a bit for him, go out and sign two players. They won't sign another Sigurdsson, but they can sign 2 or 3 players that between them can provide. He's not the first iconic player who will leave Swansea, and he won't be the last.
No, and Everton, they say, Barkley was worth 50 million. Sigurdsson is worth, I think he's a better player personally. But there's got to be a compromise for the sake of both clubs. We can get on and buy in what we can. There's talks of Nasa Chadley and, from West Brom. There's talk of Boney and others, whether Llewellyn will return. Stoke say they don't want to, but every player has their price. I'm sure Llewellyn would love to come back.
I think Llewellyn, a bit like Leon Britton and Tom Carroll, again, they're similar types of players, I think. I think maybe...
And Roca Messer as well, the same.
Yeah, I think maybe... I watched Manchester United, Swansea's next opponents yesterday, and tremendous amount of power and physical presence in their midfield. I think Swansea need a bit of that.
Yeah, you look at Messer, and he only scored 1 goal last season, so he's not going to be a Sigurdsson.
No. He's a good distributor of the ball. What we need is people that can create. Perhaps Nathan Chadley would come in and be able to do that work. Llorente last year showed when the ball was fed to him, he knows where the goals is. But
the good thing is that Swansea have a manager who in the second half of last season performed a miracle with that club, and their second half performance, their second half points, 29 points, was I think better than almost anybody else in the league. So a little bit of faith is needed here. I know that he made some substitutions on Saturday that were booed by the away fans. I think, come on, let's get real here. This is a manager who proved his worth last year. I think he knows what he's doing.
It was a very good change he made as well. When he brought Kyle Bartley on at centre-half, he played 3 at the back. He allowed those 2 wing-backs to go forward. They had a lot of trouble trying to defend in that first half. So actually allowing them the freedom to go forward really sort of changed the dynamic. And I don't think we'd have seen that from previous managers. So that showed a lot of intelligence. And it did help a little bit, yeah.
We've actually got highlights, because I know they drew 0-0, but there were some spectacular.
There were highlights.
They were. And like you said, they did play well, and there was parts where you could see really good playing. So should we actually have a look?
And before the game, I would have taken a draw all day long. So.
Bertrand making sure that everyone is set. And that's clipped the top of the crossbar from Gabbiadini. It's a terrific start, this, by Southampton. Lawton. Routledge. Abraham. Big chance, big opportunity for the youngster. Redmond. Worth a try. Fair. Olsen. Abraham. Ayew. Fair. Abraham, beautifully turned. Cedric got in the way of the shot. And driven wide by Fair. Davis. Tadic.
Well, definitely some highlights.
Well, they're playing away against a team that's expected to finish in the top 10, and they came away with a point and not conceding a goal. I think it's a good start.
Good result.
Yeah, as you see, there's some good play from Tammy Abraham as well, definitely. I think that's more to look forward to this season, hopefully.
And that one where it hit the goal post. It was close, wasn't it? I can imagine what everybody was like.
I mean, we were right behind the goal, and that was after about 90 seconds. Yeah. And then 3 or 4 more corners came in, and they were actually pretty similar. So heart was in our mouths a little bit, but thankfully it hit the wrong side, or the right side for our sake, of the post, so it was okay.
Oh, bless you, you've calmed down now after it.
Just about, yeah. Had the drive to calm down on the way back.
Look forward, everybody, obviously, to the next match.
Oh, well, having watched Man United yesterday, looking forward might be optimistic, but yes, it'll be a good game.
Yes, the crowd will be the 12th man for us, and we'll win.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, we'll be covering it next time.
Okay.
Big thank you to all, and to all of our guests joining us on the show today. Next, on BTB, we have our afternoon matinee movie. Today, it's the 1963 crime drama, The Marked One. See you next time. Goodbye.
Gabbiadini.